spill. Case number 002, the interview.
Hi, I'm Meghan Rodgers, your favorite paralegal.
You're my favorite paralegal.
And I'm Sarah Young.
And I'm your...
Paralegal.
Excuse me.
Office manager, yes. And I'm an attorney. Our firm is located in Clemmons, North Carolina.
Did you see how she just dissed me that hard? So
You're
hard.
Are you
bestie.
going to go there 10 seconds into this podcast today?
I absolutely am.
We didn't even have a chance to welcome the listeners, if there are any.
And you're supposed to tell me that I'm your favorite paralegal.
You are my favorite paralegal.
Okay, I feel better now.
Should have done a funny voice for that. Do one, you pick. Ready?
All right, hold on. I got to get you there.
Meghan Rodgers, you are my favorite paralegal.
Thank you. I feel pretty now. I needed that. So today, Sarah and I are going to talk about something that's been going on in our firm. We have been interviewing. We were hiring for 2 positions. We have hired one and are hoping to hire another one by the end of the month, another paralegal. But we've had some really special resumes and some super fun interviews that we have experienced through this process.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few of crazy interviews, comments, and people that we've encountered. And then we're going to give you some actual tips on interviewing from the interviewer's side and the interviewees. So, have you ever been asked a question in an interview that makes you uncomfortable, but were you not sure if it was actually legal to answer? Or maybe you're a hiring manager wondering which questions could land your company in legal hot water. Today, we're diving briefly into the legal minefield of job interviews from both sides of the desk. What interviewers absolutely cannot ask, what interviewees need to know about their rights, and the gray areas that trip everyone up.
So the craziest interview that I had was for an estate administration paralegal. So that is probate law. So helping wrap up a decedent's estate. And this was a gentleman and
Works for a big bank.
Yep. And okay, so the way we do our interviews is the first one is with just me, and we do basically like a Zoom 30-minute get to know you, see if we're going to move forward and bring someone in for an actual interview with me and Sarah in our office. And this gentleman, oh Lord, I asked one question in 25 minutes.
Oh, it gets better. He referred to himself throughout the 20 minutes in the third person.
He did.
In superlatives in the third person.
Yes, he did. The one question I asked was, tell me about yourself.
That opened the floodgates.
It did. I did not realize what a big question that was going to be. And so he was telling me what I needed to be looking for in a candidate and why he was the perfect person to do that. He worked in a call center and he mocked a phone call for me, doing both sides. He did. And
So he did the phone call. He was both sides and the moderator. So
Yes.
He played 3 roles in that situation.
he did. And oh my gosh. And he also kept throwing out random legal terms, trying to show me, I guess, how comfortable he was using legal jargon in his everyday life.
Give us an example of this.
He's like, he would be like, and we should object to that. And
There were some others that were really funny.
There were several others. I'll have to see if
It was something like, that's not germane to the conversation. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody says that.
It was so weird, and it was very forced, and you could tell it was not how he normally talked.
Honestly, it sounded very like AI generated and scripted.
Yes. And the entire interview, remember I told you this is Zoom, and so you should be looking at the camera. And he just kept looking off to this side and off to that side and never made any type of eye contact
It's a little
with
squirrely.
me. Yes. And so we get to the point where I'm like, I just have to cut this guy off because he's literally never going to shut up. And I said, all right, well, I am getting ready to go into my next interview, so we will be in touch. And I immediately hit the reject button, which automatically sends them a rejection letter. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be. I would not recommend going over hypothetical scenarios and playing 3 parts. That would be yourself, the person you're speaking with on the phone, and then a moderator of the call. Like, that's a little odd. So,
Without giving any of the information on that, can you give an example of what the call was like?
Yes. So they worked for a large national bank in what is called the estates division. So all banks have estates division so that when a person dies, they freeze the bank account and work with either the administrator of the estate or executor, which has to do with whether they had a will or not, which one you are, to distribute the funds and get the funds out of the bank account. So a person would call in, and so he was like, this guy had a very, very, very thick Southern accent. And so he said, so the call went like this. My daddy died, and I need to get the money. I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. He's like going back and forth, like holding his phone, and obviously is an age where we do this signal instead of the flat hand for the cell phone. And
This being the
Pinky
hang
and thumb.
10, the
Yeah.
hang 10.
yeah, the hang 10 up to his face.
for us over
going
40,
back and forth. And he's like, and I had a 98% solution rating. I was like, okay.
I mean, it's good to know. I think it was the delivery. It was mostly.
It was really the delivery.
Yeah, it was mostly the delivery. So, I think at this point, I have lots of interesting interview moments by Zoom, especially.
Oh, yeah, you had a real special one.
But we'll save that. We'll just keep that in our pocket for a second. I want to get back to some legal stuff. And so for everyone listening, there are federal laws regarding what you can ask in an interview, what you can't. And basically, federal law protects job applicants from discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age over 40, disability, pregnancy, genetic information, military status. These are your protected categories, meaning employers can't make hiring decisions based on these characteristics. It's just that simple. Your qualifications matter and not your personal identity. So, for employers, you have to use standardized interview questions. You can't specifically ask someone how old they are. Can't specifically ask them what year they graduated from high school, because that would clearly indicate or be a good indicator of how old they are. Can't ask them specifically if they have any disabilities. Have you ever filed a workers' compensation claim? Things like that. So you have to be very, very careful as an employer in what you ask. But on the employee's side, you don't have to answer those questions, first of all, just because you're asked them. And, there are other ways that you can get around answering those questions. So like if they say, have you ever been arrested? Conviction questions are complex. States have, their own specific laws on that. If they ask, what's your credit score? That's probably not the best interview question. I probably wouldn't answer that. There are different strategies for answering those questions. You can also redirect gracefully, and say, I prefer to keep my personal life separate. Happy to discuss my qualifications and how I'd excel at this role. But let's be real. If your employer is asking that at the interview stage, what does that mean for what the workplace environment is going to look like? To be very careful as an employee, a potential candidate, when employers start asking you things like this, because if they're not abreast of the labor laws now at the interview stage, how's it going to look whenever you're employed by them? Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but that's my take on that. is if they're asking me things they shouldn't be asking me at the interview stage, like,
What are they going to ask you to do if you go
right,
to work there?
Exactly. And when they say something like, what religion do you practice? How often do you go to church? You know, of course you can freely answer that, but, you know, those are not generally great questions to ask if you're an employer in interviewing a job candidate. So I don't know. What's the weirdest, Megan? I know you've worked a lot of places. I've certainly worked a lot of places before my jobs, before my career in law. I've had a lot of great jobs, a lot of not so great jobs. But what were some of the weird questions that you were asked in interviews?
Oh, Lord. I have been asked about church, not until I moved to the South. I grew up north. And when I moved to the South, I was asked about church. It was when I was in college and I was interviewing to be a waitress. And they wanted to make sure that I would not be having problems with, this is the reason they were asking it, but they wanted to make sure I would work Sundays and Wednesday nights. So they wanted to know if I went to church and how devout I was, basically.
Well, seeing if you're an employer, you can kind of spin that as we're looking for your availability. You know, there are so many ways you can ask that question without specifically saying, where do you go to church?
Yeah.
Not that it's not a bad thing. You know, it's not a bad thing to discuss your faith, but from a legal perspective at the interview stage, it's just not appropriate. You know, and there are other things like culture fit conversations that employers really want to have. You want to know that you're bringing a candidate in that's a great fit for your team, and you want to know that they'll fit in with the culture, because if you have a disjointed team, it's never going to work. So, you know, you can ask about interests and hobbies. That's generally okay. But you can't ask questions that specifically screen out certain groups. For example, Megan, when you're interviewing someone, you cannot say, we're a young, energetic team, and we're looking to add some fresh, vibrant youth to our team. Well, what does that look like? Age discrimination? You know, things like that. You've got to be careful. But
It's such a fine line, because that's one of the things that has been important to me why we're hiring right now for our firm, because I genuinely like my coworkers and I spend more time with them during the week than I do my own family.
absolutely.
And right now I feel that our office is really fun to work at. We have lots of fun, slightly inappropriate banter. When we have lunch, you know, we're off the clock. We're clocked out for lunch, but we're all eating lunch together and laughing about what was going on in our personal lives over the weekend, or what we have coming up this coming weekend, complaining about our spouses and, you know,
Wait
stupid
a minute.
arguments.
I never complain about my spouse. My spouse is a gem. So you leave him out of this.
Oh, okay. Let me do that for sure.
I didn't know his name was Jim, though.
That's my other spouse. I'm just kidding.
I'm pretty
No,
sure
Travis
bigamy
is-
is illegal in all 50 states, but
Travis is great. Well, we make no representations as to laws outside of North Carolina, but
that's right. That's right. But yeah, so, you know, you want somebody that is going to fit in. And also, we have members of the LGBT community that work in our office. And so you don't want to have somebody that is a bigot.
that's a strong word. Let's back that up a little bit.
Okay. But it's a fact.
It is what they are.
That, I mean,
And
it's
then
a
if
fact.
they are, they probably don't need to be there.
No, we try to be very inclusive in our workplace. You know, I think that adding diversity only adds to the quality of the work, because the more diverse opinions and backgrounds you have, the more you can relate to clients. And
Absolutely.
and you know, having different ideas and opinions and processes and approaches, to me, only allows you to enhance your processes and your work products. So, the world would be very boring if everybody was like me. Maybe not if everyone was like Meghan, but
Absolutely not. It would be a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm an amazing person.
on our next episode, we'll have
And
Meghan's
humble.
spouse.
To make sure that we dispel all that I just said.
All the rumors
Yes.
and negative, or not negative, but falsities.
So, yeah, interviewing is a necessary part of owning a business if you want to grow, but it's a little bit of a minefield, and it's a hard decision to make.
So I know we were talking about federal laws, but there's a hot button issue that I've heard of a lot, and we haven't talked about this. So
Oh, so you're gonna hit me on the fly?
it's my turn to just drop things on you.
Oh crap! That's my job.
So most bigger employers require drug testing as part of the employment process. And as you know, in North Carolina, certain levels of Delta 8, Delta 9 THC is permissible in the state. I'm not making any representations. I'm not stating any opinions. I'm just stating the law here. It is legal in certain amounts. And it is possible that even if you partake in a legal amount of it, that to relax, to go to sleep, whatever, recreationally, whatever your choice is, that you could still test positive for a drug test. So Meghan, my question to you is, if you extended an offer to someone and they fail a drug test, and they have, I don't know how detailed these drug tests are as far as like the levels of THC, but if someone tested positive for THC and their response was, oh, well, I took a gummy to sleep. What do you think about that? Do you think it's okay to ask somebody before you drug test them, hey, are you going to have a negative result? If so, why? Like, what's your opinion on that? If you ask them about it and they're like, I take gummies to go to sleep once in a while or all the time, whatever, just not at work, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then they, of course, test positive. What do you think about that? Is that okay?
So it's really funny that I was talking about this with some other people the other day. We were talking about the fact that, we don't test for alcohol, but alcohol is legal. But of course, we don't want somebody drunk at work. So that's not okay. So if it's legal, then I don't necessarily see that there's a problem with that.
Okay. Well, as you can imagine, not all employers would feel that way.
Absolutely.
And did you know there's been a recent court case that talked about that? So, can an employer refuse employment for positive tests for legal Delta 8 or Delta 9? What do you think?
Do I think that the court case, you're asking me what the outcome was?
Yeah.
What I think the outcome was? I have not read any of this, so you're putting me on the spot.
Backpedaling.
Yeah. No. So I would say no.
That's not legal. We are an at-will state. So you're saying the employer does not have the right to refuse employment regardless of what they would be doing. If they're a school bus driver, they test positive for Delta 8 or Delta 9, you don't think that the law would allow
the
an
law is
employer to
going.
terminate you?
I think that they will allow. Yes, I do think they would allow to terminate you. I'm sorry, I was not understanding how you were asking the question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they absolutely
Not trying to
can
put you
fire
on the
someone.
spot.
No, yes,
But-
you are.
Maybe. So there was a case in 2024 in the Fourth Circuit, which is our federal district court, or our federal court of appeals, sorry. We're for the Fourth Circuit, and it's Anderson v. Diamondback. And it is where somebody was fired because they tested positive, or she claimed she tested positive for THC or marijuana, but she claimed she only used legally derived hemp products that included CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, THC, all the different things. I'm not familiar with all the derivatives of THC. But she claims she only used the legally purchased sources, which she purchased from a store in North Carolina legally. And the court actually affirmed her termination when she failed 2 drug tests, even though she's claiming that she did it legally and only used it recreationally. And so basically, the products are unreliable. Sometimes you'll test positive, sometimes you test negative. I think if you're using the hard stuff, maybe it would always test positive. I don't know. But I think it depends on how it's derived in the process.
Well, your body automatically produces THC. So
Really?
what the drug test does is see what the levels are elevated. So
I think most of them it's like 50, but I can't remember if it's 50 what.
yeah, I don't know either. Yeah.
So, and the employer will always fall back on a safety exception, right? So they're always going to say that use of products, lawful or unlawfully, is necessary to the job. So they're going to say that testing negative or being completely devoid of Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, whatever it is in your system is a bona fide occupational requirement. And it's reasonably related to your employment activities. So, and it makes sense for us. So I don't want somebody who's high as a kite on marijuana, THC, gummies, Delta 8, whatever. I don't care where they bought it. I don't want them working on my cases.
No. Yeah.
I don't want them on my files. I don't want them driving my daughter's school bus.
But again, that goes back to doing it while performing the job, and then doing it at their house at night whenever,
Yeah.
So no, I don't want someone on drugs driving my bus either. But, if they get off that, because I'm sure it's not an easy job, they go home, put their feet up, and then they pop a gummy, and then it shows up in a drug test. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think it's fair either. I think we all have and this is not my legal opinion at all. This is just my personal opinion. But, it's up to the individual. I don't want to be judged for something that I do in the privacy of my own home. And I don't judge anyone else. However, as it relates to job activities, it's tricky because how do you verify if you suspect it? Or even if it's randomized? How do I know that someone is not under the influence? So, for forever, when it was completely illegal, it was easy just to have an empirical drug test, and then you can rely upon those results. But now it's tricky because you're right. When you're on the clock, you shouldn't be under the influence. But when you're off the clock, it's kind of like you were saying with alcohol. Alcohol has been legalized forever. If I have a glass of wine with dinner and then,
You have to
alcohol can still stay in your system for 30 days. Mm-hmm. So if the alcohol was within the panel of what's being tested, even though you had a glass of wine last night, you could still test positive for some level of alcohol in your system. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And should that preclude someone from employment?
Last week, I've never done it, but let's say last week I was in Denver, and marijuana full on is legal there. And I smoke it there and then fly home 3 or 4 days later and come here and go to work. And they're like, oh, you need to take a drug test. That's going to show up. I wasn't here, so I wasn't doing anything illegal.
And you were not on
and I was not on the clock. I was on doing vacation stuff, whatever. Again, that's another tricky and dark, murky water, we'll call it.
Yeah, so there as an employee on that end, in that respect, what does the employee do? So you can refuse, and then they will terminate you with cause, or you can take it and try to explain it away. And then you can try and retake a drug test. It's tricky, and for that, I would definitely recommend contacting an experienced employment lawyer, which is not me. I don't do employment law, but it's tricky because these are interesting times we're navigating now. It's almost like the Prohibition era where any alcohol was bad. It's the same way. CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, THC, whatever. From the employment perspective, it's automatically all bad. Now, it has purpose, these rules. I don't want a doctor doing my heart surgery that's, high as a kite. But, if whatever he does on his own, as long as he or she shows up for work sober and not under the influence, it's legal. So, but it's tricky. So I know we got a little deeper than you probably expected on that.
We did, but it was fun. I like rabbit holing with you.
We do that a lot.
We do.
Okay.
And debate a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So can you even prove things? It's hard because how do you prove that, hey, I didn't smoke a joint from the stuff that I got illegally, but I ate this gummy that I bought at the store down the street? How do you prove that positive test result resulted from legal activity? You can't do it.
I was going to
So
say, have they come up with one yet?
I don't think so.
I wonder if that's something that will be developed.
Yeah, drug tests just can't tell the difference right now. Maybe eventually that can be developed. But, I see that as
Because also, like,
an
if you
emerging
test your
issue.
blood, you would have alcohol in it, but the way they test it to see if you're able to drive is a breathalyzer.
right. I think that's because it's like the most accurate. I don't know.
Well, it also is immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. So you walk into a gas station in North Carolina, legally buy a Delta 8 vape, use it at home on a Saturday night, and then you legally lose your job Monday morning. Is that fair?
Nope.
Fair?
Yeah, not legal, fair.
Nope.
Because sometimes the law is not fair. And so that's where, laws emerge and develop over time. And, that's the law is a living, breathing thing that's fluid across, time. You still have the black letter of the law that doesn't change, but how it's interpreted could change over time. And currently, I think that's a bit of a...
We're a bit behind.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a hole there. I think it's an emerging issue. And I think it's only going to get to be more of a hot button issue as these products and alternatives to pharmaceuticals become more popular. Because, would you rather take something that's plant derived to help you go to sleep, whether it be lavender or essential oils or a Delta 8 gummy? Or would you rather take something that I will not name that's, a controlled substance pharmaceutical that's lab derived that's not too far off from meth? Maybe not meth, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like what's better for your body here? And I think that's still, because of the historical connotations and things of these products that were once illegal that are now legal. It's interesting. So just wonder what your opinion on that was.
No, I don't think it's fair. But it is what it is until we change something.
So, and one thing I want to point out is that most of the time they're looking for Delta 9. Right, they're looking for THC or Delta 9. Delta 8 is different, but it's not the psychoactive. It doesn't have the psychoactive properties. At least that's what I've heard. And so, they're very similar in chemical structure, and depending on how it's made and what's mixed with, kind of like whenever you see the disclaimers on the back of a package that says this is processed in a facility with peanuts. Mm-hmm. There could be trace amounts of peanuts in this product. So I'm buying this. I think that it's just like straight up Delta 8. It's commingled or handled in the same place as something that's not, and then you test positive for a drug test. So, it's tricky. But at the end of the day, my advice would be if you're job hunting, and especially if it's a safety sensitive position, if I'm interviewing to be a forklift operator at a manufacturing facility that makes like heavy metal cars. So like there's a large like tractor trailer truck manufacturer that's in North Carolina, and they have facilities in different places. And like if you're handling like tractor trailers and like they're up in the air, I talked about my stepdad, like with the robots, and they pick up these giant truck bodies and move them across the facility. What if one of those fell on someone and you were the one that accidentally pushed the button because you're a little tired, Like anytime you're in a safety sensitive position, you need to treat hemp products like it's illegal marijuana if you think you're going to be drug tested, because you just don't know how you're going to test.
Well, if you do it and you're tired, you're still technically impaired.
You are. So, and that's the employer's argument for why drug testing should be used. And that's also the employer's argument for why you should not be using these products, because if they have any lasting effects on you while you're on the clock, that's a problem. It's especially a problem like from workers' comp perspective, from a safety perspective. Going back to the school bus example, heaven forbid, bus driver is a little, still under the influence. And even though she took it last night and then there's an accident, there are a lot of potential lives at stake there. So it's tricky. And again, I'm not inserting my personal opinions or beliefs or anything into this conversation. I'm just saying from a legal perspective, if you're job hunting, you can argue about a drug test, but they will probably decline employment to you. And they legally are okay to do so if you're already employed you fail a drug test, even if you fail it for like legit, legally purchased substances that you buy in a store in North Carolina, they can legally, at least the current law is that they can legally terminate you. So,
Well, I think that goes into one of your favorite sayings. How does that go?
which one?
Your rights end where
Yes.
mine begin.
That's right. That's always, I say that regarding hate speech, expression. My free speech ends when it starts affecting your rights.
Yep.
So, not getting political on that at all. We are going to avoid politics on this podcast.
Absolutely.
But let's do some rapid fire. I'll do a couple of these and then I'll pass the deck over to you. So just
Okay.
rapid fire, getting to know you.
Okay.
All right. So who'd play you in a movie?
Who do I want to play me, or who do I always get told I look like?
Both.
Okay, so I always get told I look like Gina Davis. I get that one a lot.
Okay. Yeah, you're in a league of your own.
There we go. But who would I want to play me? Oh, gosh. I don't even know. I've never thought about that.
See, I wouldn't get Gina Davis for you. I would get Deborah Messing.
Yes. Or
okay.
Sarah Rafferty.
That's right.
So Sarah Rafferty is Donna from Suits.
Yep. And I get told I'm your Donna all the time.
I've never seen Suits. so
Oh,
I
you
don't-
need to add that to your queue. But it's a long commitment. It's like 8 seasons. And
Yeah,
some
you
of
don't-
it's a little slow.
No, you just watch like the first 3 episodes. You'll
get
get
the- yeah.
the gist of it and get the main characters.
Although the last couple episodes, like all the stuff with like Harvey and Donna kind of came to a head at the end, but you got to get through a lot of not so decent acting to get to that part.
Yeah.
And I'm not
There's
going to
that.
make any comments as to who I think are the good or bad actors. Contact me individually and we'll talk about that. But
Schedule a one-on-one and I'll discuss.
absolutely. So who do you want me to answer?
I would be totally okay with Sarah Rafferty playing me.
Okay.
I would be okay with that. So how about you?
I don't know. When I was younger, I used to get Jodie Foster. Mm-hmm. There were others. I can't. My mind's just going completely blank right
Julie
now.
Bowen.
I don't know who that is.
She was Claire on Modern Family, the daughter.
Daughter. I'm going to Google it.
She was also Virginia Bennett in Happy Gilmore.
Oh,
Yeah.
the like his love interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what's her name? Julia.
Julie Bowen.
Julie. So we just watched Happy Gilmore 2 recently, and the scene where she's like the beer wench, like that's where he's like daydreaming about her. It's hilarious. Okay. I don't. She's a little like older than me, kind of.
But that's okay.
That's okay. She's still pretty.
Oh, yeah. She's gorgeous.
I don't know. Who do you think?
Brittany Snow
Okay.
when she's blonde.
When she's blonde. Okay. We're not going to go into a Honey Wives discussion right now. That's totally off topic.
But we just finished watching that.
We did.
We did just finish watching that.
Okay. So who are your heroes in real life?
Who are my heroes?
That's called the art of deflection.
Absolutely. Okay, so my heroes in real life. Well, I mean, it's going to sound so cliche, but like my dad, he's an amazing business owner. He and my stepmom are, they built an amazing business in my hometown of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I still go to him for advice on everything.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting how we put our parents on the shelf, and as we get older, the shelf kind of lowers a little bit when you see them with adult eyes through an adult lens.
Yes,
after you go
absolutely.
through your own experiences. But I would say my mom, my dad too. My dad's deceased, but yeah, my mom for sure. She's been through some things, and she and I don't always see eye to eye, but I do admire her. She's my hero for sure. This next one is great.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Okay. Which living person do you most despise?
I don't think I can say that on air.
I
because
can't either.
They would listen to this podcast
Do I know this person?
Maybe.
Okay, well, the person I despise the most, I certainly can't say because it's very polarizing and political, and I'm not going to go there. Tim's giving me some hand signals, so we'll move on to the next.
Because it's mine too, I believe.
We'll touch base on that later, but
You're going to set up a 1-to-1.
Okay, so your turn.
My turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you can use whatever's next, or you can shuffle.
Okay. Do, 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 do.
No, you get a song and a pony show today.
That's right.
I think I botched that expression pretty well.
It's all right. You gave it the old college try.
I tried.
Which talent would you most like to have?
Do I have or
No,
most like to have?
Most like to have.
So this might come to a surprise for a lot of people, but I've got a little bit of ADHD. And it is my superpower, but at the same time, I think I would really love to just like be able to focus in and get things done and have this like incredible recall. I mean, I do have pretty good recall, but I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? For yourself, not necessarily for me.
I would, as much as I love my dyslexia superpower, I would absolutely get rid of it.
Why? Because you see the world in a different way.
I do, but I do not fit in the mold. And as I am working on finishing my bachelor's, my absolute frustration with the fact that I transpose numbers and see everything backwards, I would get rid of that.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
Next.
What book belongs on everyone's shelf?
The Holy Bible. No, I'm kidding. Not going to go religious or political. I already said that. I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Yeah, you flirted with it twice.
I know she does. She loves to flirt. So I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a good one.
Everyone should read that book and internalize it. And the world would be a much, much better place.
Yeah.
All right, one more. What is your most treasured possession?
Man, you're asking me these hard ones.
How is that a hard one?
Well, I'm going to go with a legal definition of possession, which is personal property. Which,
Well, it is 9/10 of the law.
yeah, it is. So I'm going to go with Silas. My golden doodle.
He's so cute.
He's also have we given him a title yet? Because he's in the office several days a week.
He's the
and he
office
wears
mascot, the office comfort puppy.
Well, he's like the chief comforting officer or something like that.
Absolutely.
The CCO. We need to get him on the website with his little bow tie.
I know. We definitely need to show him off because he's handsome, which he's getting groomed. So it'll be a good time to do a picture of him.
He's a little scruffy.
He is scruffy now, and he's not really a fan of being groomed, but he'll get over it.
He sure will.
He will.
So Megan actually grooms him.
I do.
Just in one of her other lives, she's also a dog breeder.
Yes. You're going to make people hate me. I'm going to get hate mail from all the rescue groups now.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. She does it responsibly.
I do. So what would be my most treasured possession? The Holy Bible.
We should edit out this question altogether because we went religious. We touched a hot button issue of the grooming. I mean, the
Dog
breeding thing. Like, should probably not have that one in there.
Okay, so we'll delete that one. So this is the last third. This is the real third one. Okay, so what's the worst job you've ever had?
Outside of law, right?
Outside of law
We're going to protect the innocent here. Outside of law.
and guilty. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is a great one. When I was in college, I had so many jobs. Like, I couldn't be idle. I wanted to make money. I didn't want to like mooch off my parents too much. And one of my jobs, it was during winter break, was I would go to this warehouse for this taxidermy supply place. And they had these huge bins of forms of animals. So like imagine these like huge foam life-size like deer heads and deer like bodies, and they were cut up in different pieces and they were glued together. I had to go dumpster diving into each one of these bins to count like how many deer shoulders there were, how many bear faces there were, how many eyeballs there were. And you had to like dig in there, like get into this big bin because they had to do their inventory. And I got so dirty and nasty. And it was just so weird counting the eyeballs and counting like a squirrel mold. And it was like squirrel resting on a log, squirrel climbing up a tree, like things like that. It was just, that's the most bizarre job I think I've ever had. I mean, I've had great fun jobs, but that, answers your question.
Yeah. So it was what's the worst job? That was the question. So was that the worst job?
As far as specific job duties, yes. So and I will leave it at that.
The worst job I ever had was working at a barbecue place in Welcome, North Carolina.
Would you like to share the name of the place?
No, I'm not.
That's a great answer.
I thought we were protecting
people.
The guilty.
Yeah. I don't even think they're in business anymore. But
so what made it so awful?
The owner was a gentleman that was a male chauvinist pig.
So not a gentleman.
Yeah. He was not. He was an a-hole.
I feel like you're being judgy in this moment right now, but
It's not judgment if it's right.
Yeah.
If it's true.
He thought all women were stupid. So.
Oh, that's tough.
But he only hired female waitresses.
Oh, that reminds me of. I tried to block that one out where I worked at a restaurant. I've talked about that. That's a conversation for another day for me.
Yeah, but he was awful to work for. And the head waitress was a super special person. And there were more than one occasion. One person wrote out the C word in nickels for her tip. She was that much of a gem. So I didn't work there very long, but I really despised it. That was the worst job I ever had.
Okay, you just reminded me of a few, but again, I think we're out of time. And I like how we ended full circle. We started with pitfalls, employment interviews, stuff like that. And we ended with worst employment experience. Although for me, it wasn't my worst employment experience. It's my most random and bizarre, but.
Yep, so there we go. So another episode of Motion to Spill.
It's in the books.
All right.
Case closed.
Well, if you would like to send in an email with questions and inquiries to Sarah Young Law, you can do that by sending it to info@motiontospill.com.
Quick reminder, while I am a lawyer, I may not be your lawyer. This podcast is designed to educate and entertain, not to provide legal advice for your personal situation. Every legal issue is unique, and good legal advice requires knowing all the specifics of your case, which I don't have from a podcast. If you need legal help with a legal matter, please consult with a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction who can give you personalized guidance. Thanks for listening, and remember, no attorney-client relationship is created by tuning in.
This is Motion to Spill. All rights are reserved. So this podcast is ours, not yours. We made it, we own it, and we copyrighted it. So don't steal our stuff, don't copy it, share it commercially, or don't try to pass it off as your own genius. If you want to use our content for something, just ask us, like a normal person. We might say yes, and we might say no, but at least you won't be breaking the law. Seriously though, unauthorized use of this content can get you in legal trouble, and no one wants that kind of drama. And I mean, come on, she's an attorney. Don't mess with her.